Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the God Goals and Girl Talk podcast. I'm so excited for today's episode because we are doing something a little different, a little new, where we are going to talk about goals. Okay, God has really laid it on my heart this year to start taking the information that I have learned to start building His kingdom and empowering other women to build the the work of the kingdom. And so we're going to be talking about my kind of zone of genius, which is nonprofit organizations. So for those of you who don't know, I am a nurse practitioner by trade. I have my doctorate in nursing, and I am a nonprofit consultant, really a nonprofit strategist. And I absolutely love helping people build nonprofits, especially people of faith who are doing the work of God. And when I say doing the work of God, that doesn't mean that you have to have a church, doesn't mean that you have to be doing something that's overtly faith based. I've worked with organizations that help men who are re entering back into society or into the community after they've been incarcerated. I've worked with organizations where they are helping merge the gap between students of color and law enforcement. I've worked with pregnancy and infant loss programs. So, all of these people are people of faith who are building out organizations to do and be the hands and feet of Jesus. And so I want to start empowering and giving practical tips on how to do this because I was able to start a nonprofit organization back in 2019 called Hearts Over Habits Inc. Now look, the journey was long, child, okay? Had no idea what I was doing. I just heard God say that I needed to start this organization. It really came after I saw a need for more mentoring and for really life skills and stuff that I could not give to young women who I was seeing in clinic. So I would see young women in clinic who were coming from the local foster home, and I would do their physicals and I would ask questions about, like, okay, education, just kind of those social determinants of health. So education, their plans, et cetera, which is something that we do at all physicals. And a lot of times, these young women did not have any direction, and they also were not getting the direction from the facilities or state programs. And it really started to bother me. I was able to really develop a bond with a lot of these young women, and it got to the point where they were coming to see me, and not they weren't really sick. So they were telling the people at the home they were sick, coming to see me, but okay, but I really wanted to ask you about X, Y, and Z. And it really, at first, God gives stuff to you little bit by little bit. Started with me spending more time in the rooms, trying to block off my schedule. Then it started with me like skipping lunch and just staying in and speaking to these young women in the office. And then eventually God called me to more. And what's so great about it is that He told me that this was going to be an online program. And now, mind you, I started in September 2019. It was really more so because I said, God, I can't be everywhere at once, right? And He told me to make it a virtual program with online learning and e-mentoring and all of this. And then the pandeezy happened. Let me tell y'all about God. Okay, so I always tell people that our program was virtual BC before COVID, because we were, and it was because of God's strategy and His innovation. And so I'm grateful for that. So I say all that to say that I know that there are other women of faith who are looking to do something similar. And so what I want to do is start talking about socialpreneurship, which includes like social enterprises, nonprofits, but my zone of genius is nonprofit organizations. And my goal is also to give you the strategy and the tools to save you so much time. Working 9 to 5, going through my doctorate program, and starting this nonprofit organization, 90% of my time spent was learning, because this is a whole new sector. It works different. The strategy is different. There's just a lot of different things and things that you have to understand. So we are going to dive into what nonprofits are, a little bit about how they work. But as we continue doing this, I'm going to start giving out strategy. We're going to start, like, I have programs coming up to really help. If you have not already, make sure that you take the faith assessment quiz, because if you end up throughout the quiz, answering the questions, and it shows that this is something of interest to you. I created a completely free, like, blueprint, start to finish, everything that you need to do to start a nonprofit organization. And this was something that I did not have starting my organization back in 2019, and I wish I did. I actually paid for a consultant, and she did not give me everything that I needed. And so it's something that I found in the industry that people do, is that they do not give what they supposed to have been done give. Okay, like that they ain't given what they supposed to have gave. So my heart behind this is really to empower other women of faith who are going out and doing things in the communities, especially communities where the people are underserved and they really need these services. A lot of the communities are Black and brown, and there's in leadership and in nonprofit leadership, people don't look like us. They're not often a reflection of the people that they're serving, and I'm on a mission to change that. Nonprofits are also dope because if you work in a nonprofit organization for 10 years while paying the minimum on your student loans, after the 10 years, child, your loan is forgiven through the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Okay, I said it here first. So I want to talk a bit about nonprofits, how they work, and like I said, this is going to be something that we continue. So let's talk about what a nonprofit organization is. So by definition, nonprofits are legal entities that are organized and operated for a collective, public, or social benefit. There's different types of nonprofit organizations, from private foundations, recreational clubs, social clubs, business associations. There's so many. So I'm a part of the National Association of Pediatric Nurse Practitioners. So all those things, if you have a professional license, all of those organizations are nonprofits. The American Heart Association is a nonprofit. So these are all these organizations that are serving a greater purpose. They are of social benefit, but there's several different types. But when we talk on the show and when I talk on my channel, I'm really going to be honing in on those public charities where we're providing social benefit to people in need. Fun fact also, most hospitals in the United States, most, not all, there's some private, but most hospitals are nonprofit organizations. Let that sizzle in your spirit, okay? They are making money for sure. And most of them are nonprofit organizations. So the first thing, kind of the bonus, is I want you to know that nonprofit does not mean no profit, okay? A nonprofit organization is a business, a legal entity. So it is a business. And you have to have a level of business sense, which we're going to talk about. But just understand that nonprofit doesn't mean no profit. It means that instead of at the end of the year, me getting bonuses or giving out bonuses to people who are on the board, on a nonprofit, the board are all volunteers. And what you can do is you can get paid to be the executive director of your organization or fulfill some other role within the organization. And then any money left over at the end of the year goes back into making the programs better or to serving people. So it's not that you can't take a salary. Please Google the salaries. There's a public forum called the 990. Please go and Google the 990 of your local hospital and you will see how much these nonprofit CEOs are making. So just understand that it doesn't mean that you do everything for free. Nonprofits are a business, and so you have to have a business sense about it, okay? At the core, nonprofit organizations just really support the needs of people who need it most, especially the public charities. So that's what we're going to be talking about here, the 501c3. There's all kind of 501 designations, but we're going to carry on, okay? So here's 3 things that you need to know about nonprofits. 1, no one owns a nonprofit, okay? I founded Hearts Over Habits, but I do not own it, because nonprofit organizations are governed by a board of directors, and the goal of the board of directors is really just to ensure that the mission is fulfilled. The purpose that the organization was formed for was fulfilled. So if I ever got to tripping, my board of directors could remove me from the organization. So nonprofits are for the people and by the people, and a lot of people don't understand that. There's a organization called Black Girls Code, where y'all can look it up, but there was a lot of kind of hubbub in the nonprofit space recently because her board, the founder, her board voted her out of the organization because they claim that she was doing things and making moves that were detrimental to the organization. And the goal of the board is to make sure that the organization runs the way that it's supposed to run and that the mission is fulfilled. So if you get to acting cuckoo cuckoo, they can get rid of you because it's not your organization. It's the organization that you founded. So that's important to know. If that's important to you, to be able to say, no, this is my business, then you need to do a social enterprise, not a nonprofit organization. Next, every idea ain't a nonprofit, boo. Okay? Now, what I want y'all to know is that there are millions of nonprofit organizations. Everyone does not need to launch the same organization over and over again. So what's really, really important is that you do your research to make sure that the problem that you are looking to solve is really a problem, especially in your local area. If you are feeling led to tackle homelessness and there's already 2,500 homeless shelters and y'all got 2 homeless people in your town. Now, I know these aren't real numbers, but I'm trying to be like, I want to make it clear. You don't need to start a homeless organization or an organization that supports the homeless. I'm sorry. You don't need to start an organization for that. So you really want to make sure that the problem that you are looking to solve is truly a problem. And the way that you do that is through doing research. So what I call a community needs assessment. It's a lot of data. So you can use the census, you can use the CDC. If you even Google your county name and then type in community needs assessment, you'll often be able to find what you're looking for. The community needs assessment, usually most local hospitals do them, and you will see what the problem areas are within your community and for who. So if let's say you want to serve the homeless and feeding them isn't the issue, but you do your community needs assessment and you see that they need help with access to healthcare, or they need help with access to clothes and the ability to take a shower. Now, if you want to start an organization where you work with other organizations within your community and y'all have food trucks and also have a mobile laundry place and a bathing service, so that way in healthcare services with the local nursing school, right? Now we're solving an issue. We're able to go to people who may be dealing with homelessness and provide them with clean clothes, food, access to healthcare screenings at the very least. We're making a dent in a problem, okay? With your nonprofit idea, the goal is, and this is similar to a God idea, you're not going to be able to fulfill it yourself. If the vision can be fulfilled by you doing one thing, then it's not big enough. That's for God vision, and that's also what we talk about in the nonprofit sector as well, that you are working, the vision of the organization is huge, and then you kind of niche down or narrow down with your mission. And so for me, our organization's vision is for every woman to have an equal opportunity at success despite their circumstances, right? I know that I can't do that by myself, but our mission to provide life skills and mentoring to young women in this age group in at-risk communities, those strides that we're taking are kind of closing the gap of the vision, right? So we're kind of chiseling away at it. And so, God has even given me some ideas this year of how we can even expand the way that we currently do our work so that we can start building and catching more fish. That's really the call. So that's God's call. If you can do it by yourself, child, ain't a God vision. And with a nonprofit organization, it's the same way. The vision is huge. The mission is more narrowed down and discusses how you're going to fulfill the vision. So I say all of that to say that if you see a problem that you want to solve and there's another organization that's already servicing that same population doing what you want to do, I absolutely recommend that you first partner or volunteer with them so you can kind of get the ins and outs and get a better understanding of the needs of the organization. You can partner, you can have fiscal partnerships and sponsorships. So there's different ways for you to complete a program or get into the nonprofit sector without having to launch an entire organization. It ain't for the faint of heart, boo. I promise you that. It's not. It's ghetto sometimes. It's ghetto, but it's worth it. But it's ghetto, okay? So just know that every idea is not suitable to be a nonprofit organization. You really want to do your research. And if you find that you want to service a certain population, what you want to do is you want to partner with another organization that may be doing something similar to kind of even think about doing a fiscal sponsorship or doing a program sponsorship where you're able to start a program. So you're not necessarily launching an entire organization, but you have a program and you partner with a bigger nonprofit to get the 501, access to the 501, et cetera, et cetera. Lastly, nonprofit organizations are still businesses, okay? So while you want to have passion and purpose and serve, these are all good motivators. You still have to have a business mindset and a business acumen. Nonprofit organizations often seek several $100,000 and even millions of dollars in grants and donations a year. It's a billion with a B. The nonprofit sector is $1 billion industry. So your organization really still has to operate effectively and in accordance with all the laws and regulations. So that means that you have to develop a strategic plan. You have to have a marketing plan. You have to file the proper paperwork with the state and on the federal level. And you have to continue to maintain and be in compliance with everything that you need, all of your records, so you don't have your organization closed because you either didn't file your 990 paperwork, that you didn't file your state paperwork to solicit donations, or because you got audited and y'all wasn't given what y'all was supposed to have gave, right? So while passion will help you fuel through and push through most of those hard days and those moments, it ain't enough all by itself. Okay, you have to ensure that you are setting a great foundation for your organization. You have to ensure that this is something that you really want to do, because it's ghetto. Okay, like anything worth having is worth fighting for, but you have to be willing to get educated. You have to be willing to take the classes, do the work. And so what I'm hoping to do and what I'm going to do through the services that I will be offering is I'm going to be teaching you things that people ain't gonna just give you like off the rip. Even this conversation, if I would have found something like this before I started, I would have done things differently. I went very quickly and filed the paperwork and did all the kind of step-by-step things, but I did not take the necessary time to do as much research as I should have. So not that I didn't do any research, but even the research that I did, I didn't know what questions to ask at the time. And so what the research that I did wasn't as adequate as I thought it was. So it's really important that you have these really foundations of what it means to start a nonprofit, how nonprofits work, what a nonprofit is, so that you know what you're getting yourself into. Purpose and passion is great. But if you cannot write a grant proposal, if you can't write a strategic plan, if you don't even know what those things are, we have work to do. And if you're willing to walk through and work through it, you can have a successful organization, and I want to help y'all with that. This does not mean, this is not the place for overnight, like, oh, I'm trying to make $100,000 tomorrow. This ain't it, sis. Because you have to build, most nonprofit organizations aren't even really at their peak in the life cycle of the organization until year 3. Once you start making and getting bigger grants, you've been doing the work, everything is really set in order. There's a lot of time that is spent and should be spent into making sure that the foundation of the organization is solid. So one more time, 3 things that you need to know. No one owns a nonprofit organization. It is for the people, by the people. Every idea is not suitable to be an entire organization. Some of us need to just go volunteer. Some of us just need to have a program versus starting an entire new organization, because it's not for the faint of heart. And then lastly, nonprofit organizations are still businesses, child. Your passion ain't gonna be enough to make sure that the strategic plan is done. So you need to get education. You need to make sure that you're implementing and researching and being strategic. And so these videos and these podcasts that I'm going to be doing, the tools that I'm working on are really to help accelerate you, so you don't spend time that you don't have wasted because you don't know where to find the answers. I did that. I invested money. That woman charged me $1,800, and I did not have what I needed at the state level because she was in a different state and I didn't know, right? So these are costly time and money, costly events that I want you to avoid. So, with that being said, y'all, I pray that y'all love this episode. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you click the link in the description so that you can get access to that quiz. And if you are interested in starting a nonprofit, one of the freebies is for a blueprint that literally I tell y'all everything to get started, including like where to get education, like all of this. Free, okay? And if you loved it on the show, make sure you click the link in the show description, take the quiz, write us a review, subscribe, and that's it for this week's episode. So y'all know I always love to say continue to love God, love people, and love yourselves, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.